Hello, everybody. Mostly Professor Sagan. Hi. I'm doing my book talk on the Butter Battle book by Dr. Seuss. Now, I love Dr. Seuss so much. Some fun facts about Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss is not his actual name. It's actually Theodore Seuss Griesel. I'm not sure how to say it completely, but Seuss is his middle name. I also found out today, while doing research, he actually has this really cool website that has like biographies, books, games. It's like his official website, so it's pretty amazing. But he actually created a pseudonym when he was in college because he got caught drinking during Prohibition and was kicked off of like his school's paper that he was on. So he created a pseudonym so he could still write, which was interesting. So he first got his big break in advertising, not books, and it actually said that he started writing children's book because of the contract he had with the advertising company. They were like super strict about what he could be published for with his written work, so he became a children's author because children's books were not off limits for him in his contract. There was also, him and his wife could not have children, so some think that had an influence as well as to why he decided to become a children's book author. So, most people know him for The Cat in the Hat, One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish, or the first book my sister and I read was The Foot Book. It's an amazing book. I love it. But something that a lot of people also do not know about Dr. Seuss was he was influenced by World War II and things that were happening in politics. So he wrote a lot of books that had to do with social injustices or things happening around the world. So like Yertle the Turtle is about Hitler, The Sneetches is about like anti-Semitism or hatred towards Jewish people, racism. The Lorax is about the environment. Horton Hears a Who, he wrote that after going to Japan after the atomic bombs had gone off. So he wrote Horton Hears a Who about that, and the Butter Battle book, which is my book for our book talk. I love this book so much. It's about two different groups of people, the Ukes and the Zooks, who dislike each other because they have a difference of opinion about how you should butter your bread. You see, the Ukes know that the butter should be on the top of the bread, but the Zooks, those crazy Zooks, they butter their bread on the wrong side, on the bottom. So they have hatred and dislike towards each other about butter on a piece of bread. And that, I don't know, to me, that seems ridiculous, which I think is why Dr. Seuss chose to write this book this way. It's about something so ridiculous to kind of draw the parallel that there are ridiculous things that people fight about today that really are a waste of time. We should just get over it and move on with our lives. But he had this. So it's about the Ukes and the Zooks and their dislike for each other, and they battle each other, and the Ukes have their wall and they're guarding them, and then the Zooks break what they're guarding them against, so the Ukes come back with a bigger weapon, and then the Zooks come back with a bigger weapon, and they're coming back and forth through all these weapons, stopping each other. And then the end of the book actually does not have a resolution. It ends at the climax of it all. It's the last page. There's nothing else. And actually, I learned that Dr. Seuss said that many people, like children, would write endings to his books and mail them to him and be like, well, why didn't you end the book? Why didn't you do that? And I think that it's because he wanted the children to think, and he wanted the children to decide how the book should end. And hopefully, they decided that it should end in a positive manner, than a negative manner. I want to read this quote really fast. It's from an essay that Dr. Seuss wrote in 1960, because his goal was not to teach children how to read, it was to teach children how to think. So this is what it said. Excuse me. It says, children's reading and children's thinkings are the rock-bottom base upon which this country will rise or not rise. And in these days of tension and confusion, writers are beginning to realize that books for children have a greater potential for good or evil than any other form of literature on earth. And I think that many of Dr. Seuss' books show how he had this burden upon him to write books that could do good, that could teach children to do good things with their lives. So for the first, I'm going to read the first part and the last part so you can kind of get the beginning and the end, okay? So the beginning, it's beautiful colors. The Butter Battle book. I'm going to skip this book. And this book's kind of confusing. It took me a couple times to get, but I believe it starts in the beginning with a grandchild. And then the grandfather pulls him aside and starts telling him stuff. And the grandfather tells, the middle of the story. And then the grandchild at the end picks up and then he's narrating, the story. So it kind of gets confusing, but it's okay. For a while he stood silent, then finally he said, with a very sad shake of his very old head, "As you know, on this side of the wall are the Ukes. On the far other side of this wall live the Zooks." Then my grandfather said, "It's high time that you knew of the terribly horrible thing that Zooks do. In every Zook house and in every Zook town, every Zook eats his bread with the butter side down." So there's the wall. There are the Zooks. Okay. "But we Ukes, as you know, when we breakfast or sup, spread our bread," Grandpa said, "with the butter side up." "That's the right honest way," Grandpa gritted his teeth, "so you can't trust a Zook who spreads bread underneath. Every Zook must be watched. He has kinks in his soul. That's why, as a youth, I made watching my goal. Watching Zooks for the Zook, watching Border Patrol." So there they are. Look at the wall and the Border Patrol. Over there live the Zooks. And then it goes back and forth. See, there's Grandpa when he was a youth, guarding. And there's like the first offense from the Zooks. And they go. And then here's like the big weapon that they create. And then the Zooks come back with a greater weapon. And it goes back and forth throughout all that. And then, so I'm going to skip to the end so you can get like the climax of the story. "I raced to his office. The place was a sight. 'Have no fear,' said the chief. 'Everything is all right. My bright backroom boys have been brighter than bright. They've thought up a gadget that's newer than new. It's filled with mysterious moo-laka-moo and can blow all those Zooks clear to Salamagoo. They've invented the Bitsy Big Boy Boomeroo. You must run to the wall like a nice little man. Drop this bomb on the Zooks just as fast as you can. I have ordered all Ukes to stay safe underground while the Bitsy Big Boy Boomeroo is around." So there's the page. "As I raced for that wall with the bomb in my hand, I noticed that every last Uke in our land was obeying our chief Ukaroo's grim command. They were all bravely marching with banners aflutter down a hole for their country and right side up butter." So they're walking. "That's when Grandfather found me. He grabbed me," he said. "You should be down that hole and you're up here instead. But perhaps this is all for the better somehow. You will see me make history right here and right now." Here's the big boy Boomeroo. Grandpa leapt up that wall with a lopulous leap, and he cleared his horse throat with a bopulous beep. He screamed, "Here's the end of that terrible town full of Zooks who eat bread with the butter side down." And at that very instant we heard a clup clup of feet on the wall, and old Van Itch clumped up. The boys in his back room had made him one too, and his fist was another Big Boy Boomeroo. "I'll blow you," he yelled, "into pork and wheat beans. I'll butter side you up to small smithereens." "Grandpa," I shouted, "be careful. Oh, gee, who's going to drop it? Will you or will he?" Be patient, said Grandpa. We'll see. We will see. And that's the end of the book. Such a cliffhanger. There's not an ending. There's no resolution. And I love the endings to stories. That kind of hurts my heart. But like I said, this is a great book. I would definitely use it in a social studies content area. My 11th grade history teacher read us this book and read us Yertle the Turtle and other Dr. Seuss books to draw connections between what we're learning about and these awesome books. So it's actually, spoiler alert, it's about the Cold War. Dr. Seuss was influenced by Ronald Reagan and the arms race. So this is what this book is actually about. If I were teaching it, I actually wouldn't tell them that from the beginning. I think I would tell them, like, hey guys, I have a surprise. We're going to read a book today about what we're going to learn next. It's not your textbook. It's Dr. Seuss. And now, obviously, if there was, like, higher secondary education, they would be like, oh my god, we're reading Dr. Seuss. This is for kids. But I would tell them, not so fast. He's a little cartoonist. I would read the book, and I would ask them to make predictions about how this could connect to our content, what we're going to learn about, and see if they were going to predict. I would not tell them if they were correct or if they were wrong. I would teach the unit and then read the book again and see if there are any misconceptions, if there was anything wrong that we could change, or if they could make the connections, either as we were learning or after we learned and read, and they can make the connections finally again. I would read it and do that. I think boys and girls would like this book. There's the conflict and the weapons, which boys definitely like. The rhyming and the colors, I think girls would like. I think almost all children love Dr. Seuss, or I might be biased because of my love of him. But it's amazing. I would read this for like third grade up, just because of mature content of weapons and things like that. I love this book very much. I think it taught me a lot. It taught me, like, hey, you need to make sure that you're not being judgmental towards other people. Like, people are different than you, and that's okay. That doesn't give you the right to dislike them or to hate them. Even though they're different, that's okay. And I think that's what Dr. Seuss was trying to say. And I also think this could provide an opportunity for faith integration in a great way, because you can talk about how can we be peacemakers? How could those Ukes and the Zooks settle their differences in a way that was peaceful, which in the Bible it talks about us being peacemakers. And in my classroom, it's my goal to teach my kids to be peacemakers and not peace breakers. So I think that's a great idea. I also think another activity that you could do to tie it in with social studies is just like the peace treaties at the end of the war. I think you could have your class, like, role play, like, divide the Ukes and the Zooks, your class, up into those two sides, and then have them come together like they're creating a peace treaty to end their battle. Like I said, I love this book. I think it's great, especially for content. For younger kids, you can teach them. For older kids, you can teach them. It's great all around. And like I said, check out those other books that Dr. Seuss wrote about political injustice. Yertle the Turtle, the Lorax, Horton Hears a Who, the Sneetches. Those are all great books that I would definitely check out, because you can definitely tie them in to your content areas. Thank you so much for listening to me talk about my love for Dr. Seuss and the Butter Battle book. Please, please, please read the book. Thank you very much.